Okay, guys, I wanted to cover this gentleman, real life Wojak. Bankrupt. I used to be married and had a family, losing everything before age 30. Now, notice once he lost his income, the wife left. The kids belonged to her, right? So we'll get into this, and I believe it's worth covering here.
It can be quite as bad as I describe it is. Well, guess what it is? I'm sure there's people out there with situations worse than mine.
This is why I cover this end part first because it's most important. Dude, don't apologize. There's no point in you apologize. The reason why you're apologizing, Wojak, is because you know people don't give a shit about men failing. Well, they do. They want men to fail. They want to be the top guy and every other guy to fail. The point is, they're always going to blame you for things out of your control. But
I'm not trying to steal the thunder. I'm just trying to put out my story. You know,
I'm glad to hear that because this is what more men need to be doing. I'm glad these are a tiny channel. He only has about 2,000. But I see these channels popping up everywhere, everyone, and I'm glad to see it. Guys have to get their voices out somehow.
I don't really know what to say. Just kind of, you know, I feel like a bankruptcy that happened a decade and a half ago still haunts me.
Of course, it still haunts you. It got rid of your ability to bribe a woman into your life.
And it's something that I thought would honestly be a joke. I laughed at it. It just shows you what life's all about, man. Life.
Yeah, you know why? Because this again isn't about you. People are hostile to men who have failed because they're hostile to men. So it doesn't matter if you can accept your failures. Society won't accept your failures. Wojak. And that's what you're really dealing with. As a man, you succeed or you're demonized.
Life made a joke out of me because I just didn't take it seriously enough.
You did actually. You gave it the proper seriousness. You didn't realize how much society hated your guts by the fact that you're a surplus male. If you're a man who fails, you're surplus, right? And this is what I remember hearing some bullshit where someone said, if you can build yourself up and make $1 million, then risk it all and lose it, and then just laugh it off. You're the greatest person ever. You're top of the world, right? Yet you tried to do that. That's not how people actually see it, do they? They see you as a failure. You're a target for attack.
But maybe that was part of a defense mechanism because I was thinking it's going to happen. I'm getting myself involved in something that I shouldn't get involved with. I'm trying to help somebody, help family. It's probably not a good idea. I probably know better, and I probably tried to brush it off, and that was my defense mechanism, right?
Was it a defense mechanism or were you just accepting? And now you realize you can't accept because society won't let you accept. See?
Anyhow, I'm not going to talk about this anymore right now. I don't really know what else to say. This wasn't even supposed to be this long. It's just, yeah, psychologically and emotionally damaging beyond what I could have comprehended it could have been.
Yeah, because men don't really see how society views them, Wojack. That's why it's so damaging. It's people's reactions to you. I can't even say you're failing, that something happened to you. No matter how well you play the game, you can still fail. So it's not about you failing. It's you, something happening to you, right? You're to blame. Victim and blaming is standard for men.
So much so that it continues to linger and bother me to this day. A decade and a half later. It's not that I haven't recovered from it or anything. I did, and it's just because of the divorce, I got into more trouble. But
You're divorced, yeah, exactly. You lost your job and your wife booted you because you were no longer of any use. And know what pisses me off, everyone, the most about Wojack's video here? The only thing that really pisses me off, really, is the fact that he's not showing any resentment towards his wife for ditching him. Wojak, when you got married, did she not say for richer or poor? Isn't that the standard vows people take? But as soon as men become poorer, that's it. The woman dumps him. And you're showing no resentment. I know that's not the focus of your video, but still. If I even say it to you. Where are you? We in here somewhere? No, I better not go look for it. I might take too long looking for it. But anyway, I even told him, he said, well, I didn't say that I wasn't resentful. I said, yeah, you did with your silence in this video. Wojak, no matter what society does to you, your wife, your ex, she was the one who was supposed to have your back above all the other people. She's the one who absolutely betrayed you.
The path to recovery was such a grind.
I don't know if you've actually recovered because here you are still talking and looking like you're defeated on YouTube. I don't think you'll ever recover unless you come to terms with the fact society hates your guts. Just because you're male, they hates my guts too. We were born the wrong gender. Now think if you were a woman saying all this, you'd have nothing but support from people in the comment section. Right? Things happen to women. Men are responsible for the weather.
Maybe it wouldn't have been so bad if I hadn't been raising a family, like I said. Again, I don't begrudge my family, but
There you go. You don't begrudge your family. You mean your wife. Your kids they don't have any say in what happens. So it's not your family, it's your wife. So you lost your job and your wife ditched you as soon as you couldn't pay her bribe. And you don't blame her? Sorry, Wojak, but I have contempt for married men for this reason. If you're not going to blame her, then I have no sympathy for you. I'd definitely blame someone who betrayed me like this. You're basically saying, yeah, I was a slave. I didn't live up to my impossible expectations as a slave. So my master or mistress in this case, dumped me. This is what I deserve. If that's how you feel, then what are you doing on YouTube? Wojak, what are you doing on YouTube? Complaining. Anyway, we'll start at the beginning. We'll see a little bit more, but I got to the important stuff first. Case.
what it felt like and how it affected me immediately, I mean, after the bankruptcy. Like, what my bankruptcy before the age of 30 did to me and how it affected me.
Yeah, bankruptcy can happen to people at any time. And this is the thing. I know people who were young like you, and they went through bankruptcy multiple times. And you know something? It didn't affect them this way. You know why? Because the wife was involved and she stuck with her husband and they went on. So the only difference between you and these other couples is that your wife dumped you. That's the difference. As long as the man has the wife and family, that is the wife, then society still sees him as a potential winner. So it's not really your bankruptcy. It's you being dumped by your wife that makes you a loser in the eyes of society.
Saying those words, saying like, I filed for bankruptcy or I declared bankruptcy before 30 is one thing. Saying that
I don't think it matters that if it's before 30. you declared bankruptcy when you're 60, you're just as poor. And you're just as much of a loser to society. They still don't see this as something that happened to you. They see this as something you've done.
Them is one thing. Living that reality is something altogether very different. If I'm going to be like completely honest, which
So now that it's happened to you, in other words. Yeah. I understand that perfectly. Happens to someone else, you say, oh, that's too bad. Happens to you, the world's collapsing. I know exactly how you feel.
I try and be on this channel, I went in very lightheartedly. Like I took it very lightly.
Of course you did, because you didn't bank on the reaction that society has. You didn't realize how society views you as a man, right? What are you going to do? You're going to talk about how uh, every guy was blaming you for something that happened to you, right? You get all this negative feedback as a man, which would be positive support if you were a woman making the same complaints.
I took losing everything and knowing that I was going to lose my credit. I tried to take it in stride. I tried to take it. I don't know.
Yeah, this is why, Wojack, I know the stoicism horseshit is basically about other guys saying, I don't want to hear your complaints. I notice a lot of guys are into stoicism now, but it's really about people don't like me talking about my victimhood, so I better shut up, right? But you shutting up about it doesn't stop people from blaming you and calling you a loser. So there's nothing to gain by shutting up about it.
Uh, as easily as I could, I guess. You know, I really like deluded myself to how difficult it was going to be. And I did that way early on, even before I even filed. Like I did that.
Were you deluded? Well, you're deluded in so much you have no idea of how hostile people are to men. But if your wife had stuck with you and other men were supportive, you would have got by this no problem. You would have accepted it. You would have said, "Yeah, I'm living at a lower income. It's going to be tough, but me and my golden wife, we're getting by. My golden woman."
That well before I even knew I was going to ever have to file. When filing was really just like a well, this is a maybe. Like you know, when I was basically getting involved with the business that sort of forced.
Okay, I don't want to go too far bogged down because all these details aren't as important. Let me just skip by. This is important what he has to say here.
Another video that deals with my latest, you know, ongoing series of rejections. That's a different video from this one, but it's hard to be successful in life when nobody will give you a chance.
Exactly. You know why? Because it's just like the dating, you know. Men looking for work is the same as being on a dating app. It, you know, it's always about these endless hoops that you jump through only to be rejected, right? It's hazing by society, right? And all that hustle doesn't mean anything to guys. It only results matters. So you can turn around, Wojack, and say, look how much work I'm putting into it, and they're still going to call you a loser. That's why you have to ignore the idea of working hard. These guys don't respect your hard work. They say they do, but they only care about the results. Andrew Tate didn't work hard, but he got results. So he's a lot of guys' heroes.
And that sort of same mojo, we'll call it, is related to this video in the sense that that's what put me into the spot that I was at. Like, it didn't seem to matter what I did, how hard I worked, the lengths I went to. Like, I mean, I was commuting hours, you know, to go to school, spending days on campus. Not just recently. Like, I did this like a decade and a half ago. I don't know.
Yeah. Other men, because they're hostile to you, only care about your results. Have you achieved status that they want? So they don't give a shit about your hard work. But when they claim that you're not hustling, what they're really saying is, we still want you suffering, right? You know, by rights, Wojak, you should be wise about this and say, hey, I'm going to minimize the effort in anything I do that doesn't benefit me directly, if I put any effort at all. But because other people are hostile to you, especially other men, they'll want you working perpetually, even when it's just grinding you down. You not get anything out of it. You don't realize the hostility people have for the common man on the street. That's you and me. Okay?
Um, I mean, I lost everything. They led to the ultimate annihilation of my life, really, because even though my separation and my divorce was like a handful of years ago, like my
Yeah, your separation, divorce. She dumped you, dude. And again, Wojak, I talked to you directly. He said, how come you're not resentful? You're showing zero resentment to this person who stabbed you in the back. This is a person who gave you vows that she was for better or worse, which was a lie. And it's a standard lie. Right? By rights, no matter how badly you should do, according to the vows, that woman should still be with you. She isn't. Now, this is what I'm going to say to you now. Most likely, if you ever climb yourself out of this hole, you'll get a new one. You'll get a new golden girl. And you'll say, she's fulfilled the grand criteria of saying yes to my bride. And she's different because, well, I just say she's different. She's not like the other one. I chose bad somehow. This is why, guys, any young man at this point who gets married, I have no respect for you, and I have no sympathy when things go tits up. And I'm telling that to you, Wojack. If you ever get married again, you deserve everything you get. Everything. And most likely you will, because you're not even showing a decent amount of resentment towards the one, you know, the average guy who shits on you, he's a stranger who you've never met. Your wife was someone who was intimate with you and gave you promises at the altar.
separation was 5 years ago. The divorce was finalized like 2.5 years ago or something like that. They were a direct result of everything that happened because of the bankruptcy.
Yeah, thank you for admitting that. So again, man, if you get married, you get everything you deserve. I'd never get married. If I won the lottery tomorrow, the next day I wouldn't be married. Why would I flush good money and joy down the toilet? Right? Now, one of the guys pointed out 1633, where the guy says something, he says, this is spot on. So let's hear this.
That what one man can do, another man can do. And I've said before that. Like,
Back up. Yep, right there. He is saying something true right there.
and I think that's really messed up. Not everybody can do what everybody else can do. There is this idea that what one man can do, another man can do.
It's not an idea. It's actually an attack on other men. In other words, if you can't perform, we're going to toss you, Wojack. We're going to toss you if you can't perform. Right? It's no different than gender is a construct and all that business. It's a way to hold you accountable for things out of your control.
I've said before that I like this idea, but at the same time, I don't know that it is.
You like this idea, and this shows a failing. I don't like this idea at all. I wouldn't like the idea that every man could do what every other man could do. Because how would we say we're special as people? What would be the enjoyment of, let's say, dancing if every guy could dance great? Or construction or carpentry. It's great to say, hey, I've got a natural skill that only a few other men can do. Wojack, uh, that'd be a terrible existence. I wouldn't want to live in a reality where every guy could do whatever I could do, and vice versa.
Truly, truly accurate. Like, I think that if I sit down and draw a picture, for example, like even like something like you see one of these posters beside me, maybe I would achieve it by the end of my lifetime and it would look half decent, but it's not something that I think that I could do like this other person probably picked it up and just banged it out in a couple hours. It would literally take me like decades to perfect it. And when I say perfect it, I just mean like to get it like close to that. And that's nowhere near perfect. I mean, it's perfect for what it is, but I'm talking like, clean lines, that. Like,
Yeah, this is a long-winded way of saying, yeah, you can't do just what every other guy could do, and neither could I. And I wouldn't have it any other way, right? All we're looking for is success in our own fields. We want to be good at something, right? But I wouldn't want to erase the individuality of man by having us all carbon copies. How would we compete with ourselves, right? How would your wife choose you over the next guy if the next guy was doing everything just as well as you? Wojak, right? Anyway, I think I said the most important stuff. I'll skim through one more time to see if there's anything else. Let's see. Right, this is important. You're not your job. That's laughable, knowing what we know now.
I really seem to have this strong association with like what's in my pocket and what's in my bank account with my own personal value.
Of course, because society values that, dude. It's not you. You shouldn't be blaming yourself for what society values.
Even though they tell you growing up, like, you are, not your job. And
It's a bold-faced lie. You ever notice women's identity is their sex? I'm a woman who happens to do this. Everything else is garnish. But for us, our sex is meaningless to people. Matter of fact, I shouldn't say that. It's actually meaningful in the way that's negative. People hate us for our sex. So we say we hook ourselves to our profession because people can admire our profession, even though they hate our sex.
and then like this gets repeated in like the media. Like again, Fight Club tells us you're not your job, you're not the car you drive, and all this kind of
Yeah, there's false propaganda to keep you uh, running that in that hamster wheel.
crap. You're not like the figures in your bank account, but at the end of the day, like you kind of are, because like
Yeah, in the end of the day, it's that's what we are because we're being lied to. You should realize, Wojak, people despise men so much that they lie to us at birth. They lie to us at a young age and fill our heads right full of destructive nonsense. It's not just nonsense, it's destructive nonsense. It's designed to harm us. And this is done by your fellow man, right? Like you say, there are guys in there that'll give you a hard time when you come out and say, like this has happened to me. I got bankrupt. They're there to pound on you and say, you're to blame. You did this to yourself. because men hate other men and don't want to hear our victimhood. Even a lot of these guys who stomp on you go through the same thing. It doesn't matter.
Life, this kind of prejudice, but it does. Even at an early age, we already kind of like know this, and it shows itself, right? And it gets worse as you get older. You know, you get your like rich kids and your poor kids, and hanging out, and it's like any high school movie you watch, they're gonna have that same set of cliches. Why? Because it's a thing. It exists. Yeah, I don't know. So
Yes, you do know. You just spoke the truth.
for me, finances were very much associated with like personal confidence and personal value.
Of course, dude. Because society doesn't value as a person. As a man is not valued for himself. So what you have is valued. That's right.
And when you have no money and no finances, and your personal economy, your personal economics are shot, obliterated. What do you think that does to your like brain and your confidence and your soul, your spirit? Like, it shattered me.
Yeah, no, this is very important. This is him expressing something that every guy knows. The Wojack, you notice, even though every guy knows it, and they do, notice how uh antagonistic they are in the comments towards you. You know, well, your personal might be pretty good, but the average guy is going to dogpile you, right? Because people are hostile to you as a man. That is the root issue that you really have to come to terms with. If people liked man and supported us, then bankruptcy wouldn't be the devastation that it is.
I wasn't the person that I knew prior to 2009, and I still am not. And I mean, people change, but my change was almost immediate.
But this isn't just a change. This is an injury that we're talking about. You're talking about a psychological injury that you have yet to recover from.
And overnight, it was like being in a car wreck or something, and the trauma that you would receive from that. Let's say you're in a car wreck and you survive, you're not injured, but you'd still be like shook up, right? Like, and then
Yeah, you're getting it now.
maybe might be afraid to like get in vehicles or drive, maybe, or whatever, be a passenger for a while. Like, that could happen, right? You're a survivor. You're lucky you didn't get injured.
Yeah, but notice people don't blame you if you're, in a car accident. Well, you're a passenger, right? But they will blame you as a man when it comes to your finances, even though there's so many variables outside your control.
Maybe you did get injured, but it wasn't like severe, right? I'm just saying, like, that's sort of where I was at. Like, I got hurt by this, but it wasn't enough to end me. Now, financially,
I don't know about that, dude. Look, you're on YouTube saying, look how much pain you're in. I think the only way you're going to recover, if you come to terms with people don't like men. Your fellow man is not going to support you, and your woman, the women of the society are going to use you and toss you. You have to come to terms with that and then say, okay, where do I want to go with my life from now on? Everything I do should be to work as little possible to gain the most enjoyment for myself and stop worrying about other people in that regard. You got to recognize the animosity. That is never going to just disappear. That's not going to change, right? So that's my advice to you. Okay, and we'll go from here. Okay, goodbye, everyone.